gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, I'm checking out a horror film from 1997. That movie is Cube. Now, I didn't remember a single thing about Cube. Somebody actually told me about it a couple years ago. My mind went totally blank. So just a minute ago, I read the back of the DVD case. And apparently, the plot to this is 6 people are trapped in a series of rooms. The rooms all seem to like loop in on each other. They don't know why they are trapped in there. They just know that they have to find a way out. And every room has booby traps, akin maybe to Saw. I'm not about to call this thing a Saw knockoff, because I know for a fact Cube came out before Saw did. But that's usually the first thing that pops into my head now whenever I think of like booby trapped rooms and shit is Saw. I am rather curious about that. I'm really curious exactly what some of the traps are. I'm really curious if the movie is going to be any friggin' good at all. I have no clue. I know that a couple of people have told me that this movie is really good. I'm certainly hoping that it is, but the only way I'm going to find out if it's any good is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Cube. Well, guys, this movie definitely doesn't slow down. Movie has just started, and already a guy has just been diced into little tiny cubes by essentially a, like, wire mesh. I was not fucking expecting that. That was definitely fucking awesome, though. Well, guys, I am going to say this. As much as I would normally complain because the movie hasn't spent a lot of time trying to build our characters, what little build-up has been made here is just enough to keep everything interesting, and I'm really liking where the story is going. This is a really fascinating movie, and I'm absolutely loving it so far. Alright, I have a dumb question. I understand this was mentioned like a couple of minutes ago, but I've been sort of milling it around. I've been wondering. So, Worth built the outer shell of this thing, yet thinks that there's no way out. He doesn't know what's inside. All he had to do was lay out the plans for the outer shell. The outer shell. That means that there is a fucking perimeter on this thing. That means that there should be a way out. If he doesn't know dick about the inner workings, how the fuck does he know that there's no way out? I'm sorry, guys, it's just sort of bugging me a little bit. Holy shit, man. Guys, that was probably the most tense scene I've seen in a movie in a long goddamn time. Never has silence, pure silence, been so fucking tense. I actually felt something in a horror movie. That doesn't happen, guys. That's... Holy fuck, that is something to be fucking proud of, man. That scene was awesome! And just like that, the douchebag of the group apparently is about to die. You know what, guys? As much, honestly, as I would love to, feel sorry for him, the guy had psycho for like the last half hour. Oh shit, he lives. Damn! I was really hoping that he would have died. That would have been awesome. Well, guys, that was Cube. Let me shut that off. Okay. So, that ending was kind of vague. Well, not vague so much as still leaves a lot of questions unanswered. Mind you, none of them are big questions. Like, I think, like, the one question that it didn't answer that... Well, there's, like, 2 big questions that are never answered that I would love to know the answers to. Like, one, where exactly is this massive cube thing sitting? Like, where on earth could you put a colossal cube that big and nobody notice? Because I believe they said it was 26 rooms by 26 rooms by 26 rooms. Each room, I believe they said was about 15 feet by 15 feet by 15 feet. That's a huge goddamn cube, guys. And where on earth would that thing be? I understand that has nothing to do with the film itself. It's just something I'm kind of wondering. Moreover, Why was this built? We know for a fact that Worth, one of the guys who was imprisoned within the cube, helped build the outermost shell, but that's all we fucking know, is that he built the outer shell. We don't know what the purpose of this thing is. We don't know why these people were picked. We don't really know anything. The only thing we know is about 6 people were all thrown into this gigantic cube, and they're trying to find a way out. And you know what? With that little premise to work off of, this movie does fucking wonders with it, guys. I'm going to tell you right now, for a movie that's kind of sort of a horror movie, for the first time in a long time, I actually felt tense about a scene. My God, that hasn't happened in like 20 years of watching horror films. There has never been a moment where I actually feel for the characters. I'm actually on the edge of my fucking seat. But they did it here. Yes, guys, I'm kind of touching on writing, so I know for a fact I didn't mention that earlier, but it's kind of an obvious thing. The scene I'm talking about is one of the rooms has a sound-based trap. It does not go off at the sound of the doors opening, but it does go off at any other sound. So if somebody says something, the room gets fucking crisscrossed with these spikes, pretty much guaranteeing that whatever the fuck's in there is dead. And they just happen to have somebody who has a mental handicap, who has a habit of just randomly going, meh, and shit like that, and of course that triggers off the spikes. That is how they find out, is he sort of pokes his head and he's like, trap, and the spikes all come out. But then to watch as all of the survivors up to that point are all crossing this room, and it's totally silent. It was awesome, and it was tense. So, yeah, guys, the very fact that they were able to write a tense scene, but there were a few other factors about that. I'll get to those in a sec. But the very fact that a horror movie had a scene that left me genuinely tense, that's awesome. That's fucking amazing. Anyway, our story, like I said, the premise is really good. They don't really give you a whole lot of details, but again, all of those details, I was wondering, are minor, nothing details that are not going to change this film in any way. As much as I'd like to know where the fuck this cube is, it's not going to matter if the goddamn cube is sitting in the middle of fucking Washington State, or if it's sitting in fucking Russia. It's not going to change a goddamn thing. I think maybe the purpose of it might kind of change the overall feeling of the film, but oh well, that's nothing. It still doesn't change enough. Our characters, we don't really get a lot for our characters, guys. We are given a name. Oftentimes we are told something about them, or they have some kind of a quirk, or they have some kind of a trait which helps them survive. So we have a cop who seems to be incredibly adept at profiling people. We have a guy who broke out of 7 fucking prisons. We have a doctor. We have a student who has an absolute amazing ability with fucking numbers. We have the guy who built the outer shell, and we have somebody with a mental handicap who has a slightly different gift with numbers than our, student. And that's really all that they have for personality. We slowly pick up that there are other things going on, such as the fact that our cop is completely out of his fucking mind, has a short fuse, and a horrible fucking temper. We pick up on that, and you are going to want to see him die incredibly quickly. As soon as he starts picking up these psycho fucking tendencies. But it's like all those sorts of things. Like our fucking doctor is a paranoid lunatic who thinks that everything is all about big fucking government and big fucking brothers watching and ooh, frightening shit. And that's like her one lone personality quirk. There are just like a lot of like little quirks, and they do help with the characters. And again, as it says here on the back, that they all have a trait that is going to help them get out. As fucking short, fucking tempered and crazy as our fucking cop was, he was kind of sort of like the leader of the group until he completely loses his shit. But hey, I'm not gonna go into detail on that. I really don't want to spoil a whole lot of this movie for the people who haven't seen it. The writing here is incredible. I am not totally sure if the math which they use here is really sound, because there's a lot of math being thrown about. Because it starts off with, like, prime numbers, and then it's, like, coordinates on a map, and then it's, you know, like, factors of prime numbers, and yada, 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 yada. Or correction, if their factors are prime, and just all this other shit. And I'm horrible at math. I'm just gonna make that point abundantly fucking clear. So, I don't know if the math checks out here. If it does, awesome. If it doesn't, oh well, I don't fucking care. But, just sort of thought I'd make that point. Our story here, it flows fucking beautifully. The traps, I want to touch on the traps for a minute, because I didn't know what to think when I heard that select rooms are booby-trapped. And the traps are fucking creative. I talked about the, I'm just going to call it the silent fucking room, because once more, any fucking noise and the spikes fly out. And that led to probably the tensest scene in the whole film. Like, the very first guy we see, he walks into a point, and then this, like, steel mesh, like, rushes fucking through, slicing him into little fucking cubes. There was another one where wires come upward, and they kind of twist, and you have to dive out, or else you'll get sliced to bits with that. There was mention of, but we never actually get to see, a trap involving some kind of a gas that reacts to, like, the oils on your fucking skin. Another guy walks in and, like, steps on a fucking sensor or something, gets acid blasted into his eyes, which wind up fucking dissolving his entire face. It was kind of sick. And there are a bunch of other traps in here, and they're all fucking creative. The best part is, at least in terms of being, like, creative, because I'm going to assume this movie didn't have a huge budget, and I'll explain why in a minute. So, a whole lot of the traps are very, very low fucking budget items, and it works great in terms of, you know, budgetary use, and plus also just being fucking creative. They are all incredibly creative. Now, acting. I think this right here is sort of why, even though the characters don't have a whole lot of personality, and that kind of seemed to be the point of the writing, what saves it is the fact that the actors do such an amazing fucking job. And our cop, you don't know that he is completely mental until he starts having a breakdown. And he starts off strong, and you can just see as everything just slowly starts to, like, break fucking down in his friggin' brain, and it works great. It was fucking awesome, and our entire cast turned in an amazing showing. As small as the cast is in this movie, I think it's maybe a cast of 7, all fucking told, but all of them turn in a fantastic performance. They all do they all do an admirable job in this movie, and that is awesome. And it's because the acting is so good. The acting is so good that it definitely benefits our very well written, our occasionally tense script. It works, and that is something I love. I love seeing an awesome script and a fantastic cast to carry that script, because good things come from it. This is total evidence of that. Now, special effects. I will mention that there are a few bits of CG in here. Certain bits look decent, others look a little bit shit. What I mean by that is, when we see, like, CG of these rooms moving inside of the cube, and you'll see them, like, slide around and move around, all of that is done with CG, and that looks fine. But when they are inside one of these rooms and the room is shifting, instead of having the camera naturally move and make it actually look as if the inside of the fucking thing is actually rumbling and moving around, they basically digitally shake the shot up and down, and it looks awful. It looks ridiculously cheap. And, like, they could have easily just had, like, the cameraman sit there and just sort of, you know, like, jostle around the camera inside of the cube. It would probably have looked a little bit better. Mind you, that, though, is such a minor fucking nothing that maybe, you know, and that maybe happens to the shot all of 4 goddamn times. So I'm bitching about something you see for, like, 2 seconds 4 times. I'm literally saying that CG for 8 seconds of this movie is shit. But mind you, that's really about it in terms of bad CG. I talked about the first kill, the guy who walks into the grate and basically gets diced into little tiny fucking cubes. And you watch as his body, and it looks kind of like a mix of model and CG. And it basically looks like a mix of, like, model, dummy, CG. Looks great though. So guys, special effects here are awesome. Would have been best if they didn't do the digital camera shake thing whenever the rooms moved, but once more, that is such a minor and short nothing that it honestly is only worth mentioning, just simply to mention it. Music. There really is not a whole lot of music here, and what is here is great. I would like to talk about that spike fucking room again, the one where you have to be absolutely silent as you're traveling through it. I know a lot of movies would have had some kind of weird ambient music in there to attempt to make the whole thing even more tense. This movie did not do that. Because sound is going to trigger it, there is no score on that scene. And that absolute silence adds even more tension to it. It is such a beautifully shot scene. It is a perfect scene. It's trying to be tense, and god damn it, it fucking was. And it was everything from actors to the setting, cinematography, everything. It worked so well. Our camera work here is nothing ultimately special because it's all real basic shots. But still, what is here works. Like, we don't have cameras that are all fucked up, or, like, we don't have fucking, like, Dutch angles like every other scene or anything. What is here works, and it's good, but it's not going to... But it is not going to knock your socks off. It's not like the greatest camera work ever. It definitely works. It's definitely good. It is totally worth mentioning. Our lighting here is really, really good, and I'd like to mention the reason why I assume this movie is a low-budget film. Because technically, guys, this whole thing was probably shot with only 2 rooms. I say that because there are quite a few shots where they basically are opening up a hatch and they're inside of one room looking into another, and you can see the walls to both. Since all of these rooms are 100% identical, the only thing which they had to change was the lights in the room. And even then, there's only about 4 or 5 different colored fucking rooms you see. So really, they were able to make this entire massive cube, and they were able to make they're able to make the illusion of this colossal cube in all of these rooms with probably only 2 and a shitload of filters on the lights. And it was awesome. This, guys, is something which just sort of shows why lighting can be incredibly important in movies. Because, sure, we could have had every single room be white, or red, or blue, or green, and it would probably have looked kind of sort of boring. The very fact that the color changes with every single room, and it only occasionally cycles back to orange, or back to red, or back to green, it really does sort of make it feel like they are running through this almost endless maze of fucking rooms. And it's great. Guys, when all is said and done, am I able to recommend Cube? Fuck yes, I can. Guys, I didn't know what to think because this movie is from Trimark. And Trimark, bless them, guys, Trimark are ridiculously hit and miss with their movies. Oftentimes miss. I've seen a lot of shit from Trimark. And then there's like the scant few good ones, such as fucking Natural Born Killers, which comes out, and well, Trimark had the video rights for that one at least for a while. But those few stand out. This fucker belongs amongst those. This movie is amazingly written. The acting here is perfect. The special effects, for the most part, are awesome. Guys, Cube is an amazing movie. I am really kind of surprised that it wound up as good as it fucking was. I absolutely adored this thing. And I was curious as the movie was going because I wouldn't mind having this in my Blu-ray collection. You can totally get the Blu-ray for about $14. I may have to do that as soon as this video is done, because as much as I like it on DVD, I'm wondering how much detail will pop out on the fucking Blu-ray. I may have to, like I said, I may have to buy that when I'm done making this. If you guys have not seen Cube, by all means, check it out. The movie is fucking amazing. If you can find it on Netflix, if you can find it on Redbox, provided that Redbox carries movies from 1997, by all means, check it out. If you happen to have a video store in your area, what scant few are fucking left, and they have a copy of this fucker, rent it. And if they have a fucking price tag on it, buy it. This movie is that fucking good. I can definitely recommend this thing wholeheartedly. This movie was awesome. Now, Cube came off the Amazon wish list. The person who sent it in was a YouTuber by the name of Taking of Pelamiffy. Please, guys, by all means, swing over there and check out his channel. That would be youtube.com/user/Taking of Pelamiffy. I'm still not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, dude. I know you've sent in a lot of movies, and I always feel like I'm butchering your screen name, and if I am horrendously sorry. But still, thanks, man. I was curious about this. I mean, because I'd heard from a couple of people that this movie was really fucking good. I didn't know how good it was going to be, and I wouldn't have found that out if you hadn't sent it in, and for that I thank you. You're fucking awesome. Once more, that is youtube.com/user/Taking of Pelamiffy. Now, holy shit. I'm gonna go on Amazon and buy this fucking thing on Blu-ray. Then I think I'm gonna go watch a couple of Saw films, because I feel like watching more shit with fucking traps. And Saw, well, most of the Saw films are just that fucking good. So I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go have myself a hell of a time. And with that, my friends, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.